Hi, welcome to Collaboration, presented by me, Tara Graves. This is a webinar for the Practitioner course. Our objectives are as follows: to look at the 21st century dimension of collaboration more in depth, and to explore examples of what each competency looks like at the classroom level. Let's take a look at our competencies guide. Each of these are different dimensions of 21st century learning. So we're going to look at collaboration, and we call these elevators. So let's look at the collaboration elevator. And the idea is that when you are planning instruction and learning activities, you look at the different competencies for whatever dimension you think that learning activity might fit best with. So for collaboration, we're going to investigate each of the different floors. And this would be the top floor, that students work as interdependent. And each floor must include the criteria from the floors below it. So why should students collaborate? Collaboration is a key skill for success in the 21st century workplace. In virtually every career, people are required to work in teams to accomplish tasks that are too complex or too large for individuals to complete on their own. Research on innovation suggests that the ideas we develop in concert with others are more likely to be viable solutions to real-world problems. In the business world, new technologies have enabled a global interconnectedness that has transformed the work that we do. Real project work often requires collaboration across time and space and between organizations. For example, a pharmaceutical company in the US and a chemical engineering company in India may collaborate to produce a new vaccine. When we prepare students with the skills to collaborate effectively, they will better be able to innovate and succeed in our globally interconnected world. So take a look at these images here on the slide. Notice that collaboration takes many forms. We've got the girls working as partners, and they have looks like an iPad there. Then we have a small group here, not using technology, but still collaborating. Technology is not a necessity. It certainly does help, but students can collaborate without technology. And then you have the image here of students connecting, or people connecting virtually. What is collaboration? We often think about just when students work together that this means they're collaborating. However, true collaboration requires more than that. They must also have a clear purpose. Thinking back to the elevator image that we looked at, working together is definitely the first level. As we move higher up the elevator, there's an increasing emphasis on purpose in collaboration. Learning activities with collaborative purpose allow students the responsibility for developing and maintaining a collective and individual purpose for their work. When learning activities are designed to allow students to have shared responsibility and make substantive decisions together, students learn to negotiate and resolve conflicts, agree on what must be done, distribute tasks, and listen to the ideas of others and account for their own contributions, and integrate the ideas of many individuals into a coherent whole. How do you plan instruction so that it includes opportunities for students to collaborate? Learning to collaborate effectively takes time. To prepare our students for college and careers in the 21st century, We should be thoughtful and purposeful about planning instruction that helps students develop the skills to collaborate with a wide range of people in many different contexts. It is important to remember that collaboration is an applied skill. It can be learned only through repeated practice. Learning to collaborate requires participation in learning activities that are planned with students' development of collaboration skills in mind. A quick caveat. Planning collaborative learning activities for the sake of having students work together is a recipe for group work, and we don't want that. Several disengaged students frequently allow one or two to complete the assignments. That's kind of how students are used to collaborating, is just working together. So to avoid that group work trap, keep in mind 2 key points. Number 1, classroom activities that emphasize collaboration should have a reason to collaborate that is clear to students. If a learning task can be completed individually, collaboration has little value and students have every reason to disengage. In other words, plan learning activities that require collaboration. Number 2, students need to know that effective collaboration is a learning goal, similar to their learning of the content. Regularly communicate 21st century learning goals to students by teaching and coaching collaboration skills, and by incorporating them into assessments and rubrics. The process is equally as important as the product. Exploring each of the 4 competencies on the collaboration elevator will help us identify how the concepts of working together and purpose interact to help plan instruction that engages students in developing their collaboration skills. So our first competency is working together. Students are working in pairs or groups when they are discussing an issue, solving a problem, or creating a product. Some key considerations here. Students can work together in many different forums, for instance, in a face-to-face setting, or by using technology such as Skype or Google Hangouts to connect and share ideas and resources. Working in pairs or groups could include people from outside the classroom, such as students in other classes or schools, or community members or experts. Let's take a look at this example, and as we go through each competency, you'll see how this learning activity changes as we go up the elevator. So first we have pairs of students give each other feedback on their individual math assignments. Okay, let's see how that changes. Shared responsibility is our next floor up on the collaboration elevator. Sharing responsibility requires that students work in pairs or groups to develop a product of learning. Key considerations. A product of learning can be anything that demonstrates learning and understanding. It might be a response to a problem, a design, a video production, a narrative, a verbal explanation, and so on. Students merely helping each other are not truly sharing responsibility for the product of learning. Students must collectively own the work and be mutually responsible for its outcome. If students or adults from outside the classroom are involved, this only counts as shared responsibility if all participants are mutually responsible for creating the product of learning. Remember, to qualify as shared responsibility, the learning activity must also meet the requirements for working in pairs or groups. Each level builds upon the previous one. Elevators must pass each floor on the way up. So notice how after we add shared responsibility, our activity has changed just a bit. So before, they were giving feedback on each individual math assignment. Now we have pairs of students working together on a math assignment which they turn in as a team. So very slight tweak there that makes it shared responsibility. As we move up the elevator, our next competency is substantive decisions. Students make substantive decisions together when they must resolve important issues that will guide their work together. Substantive decisions shape the content, the process, and/or the product of learning. Key considerations here. Content. Students who make substantive decisions together about content use their background and newly acquired knowledge to determine the academic content of their work. For instance, students may discuss an issue to develop a hypothesis they will then test, or they may discuss taking a stance on a particular issue before creating an infographic detailing this stance. Process. Students who make substantive decisions together about process collaboratively plan what they will do, when they will do it, which tools and resources they will use, and establish roles and responsibilities for team members. And finally, the product of their learning. Students who make substantive decisions about the product of learning make fundamental decisions about its design, nature, features, and purpose. Remember the elevator again. To qualify as making substantive decisions together, the learning activity must also meet all the requirements of working in pairs or groups and shared responsibility. Let's take a look at our learning activity now with our new level. Student teams create a plan for solving a complex problem. Okay, so we've started with the individual math assignment. Then we move to pairs of students working together on an assignment, to teams creating a plan for a complex problem. So we're really moving from, if we jump back here, think of like a math worksheet that has, probably 20 problems on it, to here having possibly a problem that requires several different steps to figure out an answer. So as we go up the collaboration elevator when we're designing learning activities, more often than not, the activity itself will really change into something that is very much student-centered. And that is our goal. All right, and here we are at the top floor of collaboration. And I really like this image that I found. This means that the total is greater than the sum of its parts. And that is truly what interdependency is all about. Students who work interdependently undertake learning activities that will only succeed with the active participation of all group members. For teachers, these are challenging activities to plan, helping students to divide work fairly and ensuring that one or two do not monopolize the learning require careful planning and practice. For work to be truly interdependent, students must depend on each other to create a product of learning or achieve an outcome. The typical divide and conquer method does not always encourage interdependent work. Each student's contribution must be necessary for every other student's successful completion of the assignment. Key considerations here. 2 levels of accountability are critical to successful interdependent learning activities. Group accountability, which requires students to work together to produce the product or outcome, students must negotiate and agree on the process, design, and conclusions of their work. Individual accountability requires each individual on the team to be responsible for a task that must be completed to enable the group to do its work. Each student's role is essential in the completion of the team's product or outcome. Learning activities should be structured in ways that require students to plan together and take into account the work of all team members. The product or outcome should fit together and be complete. For example, a PowerPoint presentation that includes slides each student prepared independently is not considered interdependent. However, if the team planned for each student to complete slides that make up one part of a coherent whole, then the work is considered interdependent. So the important thing with that is you look at the big picture of the outcome, and students must be in agreement and work together on what that final outcome looks like. So that's the difference from that divide and conquer idea. This is the top floor of collaboration. And remember, to qualify as interdependent, the learning activity must also meet all of the requirements of working in pairs or groups, shared responsibility, and making substantive decisions together. Now, this is not an easy task, and you shouldn't feel like a failure if your attempts to reach this level with students doesn't go so well. This is very difficult and takes many experiences with it to find success. The effort you and your students put into it provides the best learning. So let's take a look at what happened to our example as we reach this level. A team of students create a plan for solving a complex problem, which relies on each team member solving a critical step or equation. So look at how it has developed since the original first floor, so to speak, of this learning activity. And look how it changes. Now, another thing to think about is you may not be able to do this on a regular basis. It's going to take time for this to be a common experience for your students. The idea here is to think about and be aware of, where a learning activity could go next. And always just strive for that next floor up. So, final thoughts on collaboration. The ultimate goal of collaborative activities in the classroom is to enable students to work together meaningfully with a clear purpose. We can see that as learning activities climb the collaboration elevator, students have greater control over their work and their work with others. Students given the opportunity to collaborate will improve their skills over time and be more likely to develop competencies at working with others that will transfer to the workplace. It may be helpful for you to take a look at the collaboration elevator guide linked here. It is basically the transcript of this webinar in addition to concrete examples of learning activities for each competency. Thank you.